Hello and
Hello.
welcome to the show. So we have another challenge for you today. I saw this one commented on a video a couple of weeks ago or whatever, and it sounded really interesting, so we are going to give it a go. And that is to see how little horsepower we need to make a car reach 200 miles an hour. Everything else is irrelevant: weight, PI, sort of car, none of that matters. This is just about how little power we need to actually get a car to 200 miles an hour. And we're not going to be cheating. There's going to be no slipstreaming. This is all going to be about the car managing to do it on its own. So, what better place to start than with a Ferrari F40? This was the first sort of production road car to reach 200 miles an hour. Fairly impressive milestone. It has 478 horsepower, which is going to be a good benchmark.
It's a lot.
We would think. I mean, it's kind of quite a lot of horsepower, but when you think of modern supercars that don't really go much more
nothing.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of modern supercars that don't really go much more than 200 miles an hour, and they have like 600 horsepower, Ferrari did a lot of things right with this car, and more supercars should be like this.
They did many things right with this car.
Yeah, this is a fantastic... I probably wouldn't say this is the best supercar in the world, because there are so many to choose from, but it is certainly right up there.
It's up there in the top 3.
Yeah, it's really a great car. Fantastic fun to drive if you haven't driven it before. I really recommend you give it a go.
Do it now.
Yes,
Stop
not
watching
now.
this video,
Finish watching the video, then go and drive the
Okay,
F40.
yeah, sorry.
Anyway, as far as top speed goes, in real life it hits 201 miles an hour. In Forza, it doesn't. It is about 192.
It's a disappointment, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. I mean, okay, yeah, Forza isn't real life. In the real run that this car did, who knows? Maybe they reduced the aero on it. Maybe they had a longer straight. I mean, this straight is long, but it's not infinite. Yeah, there are differences that you can't quite account for, but it is a bit of a shame that the Ferrari can't quite reach 200 miles an hour.
I think it's more of a shame in the fact that it was such an iconic car that it doesn't actually do 200. And like I said, Alex said there could be many reasons for that. I'm thinking of maybe because Forza gives you a full tank of fuel in the first place, whether that would contribute. Possibly. I mean, it's 8 miles an hour it's going to make up. I don't know if a full tank of fuel would affect the car that much, but I'm not going to say too much on technical We're not
stuff,
physicists, so
because people will be angry and they'll be shouting. Anyway, next, so the Ferrari had failed as a benchmark. That was useless. So I move on to a Subaru race car that I nearly managed to roll coming onto the straight. That curb is really nasty.
It's not nice, is it?
Through that section. Didn't realise it was going to quite affect the car that much. Now, standard, this car has around 330 odd horsepower. It is an R3 race car. The first thing I did was take off all the aero, because if you look, it has a rather big wing and splitters and everything. So reduced all of the aero. Running it standard, it got to about 170. Wasn't particularly fast. So I removed the restrictors on the engine. That bumps the power up to 409 horsepower, which is, again, it's going to be a fairly good benchmark. And we're going to give this car a run. What is it called? I've forgotten the name of it. Benchmark test reckons it will do 201.1 miles an hour. So I was filled with confidence, but it doesn't again. It was a disappointment. It's 100. I need two more miles an hour, and then everything's good. But it doesn't want to give another 2 miles an hour. But yeah, I wasn't too pleased with this car.
I think Forza always overestimate. I've found out with pretty much every single car I've driven, the benchmark will always overestimate what the car will actually do because of air resistance and things.
Yeah, I don't know how the benchmark
nearly crashed it there.
I
Jesus
did
Christ.
nearly have a big crash. The brakes are phenomenal. I actually quite like this car. I enjoyed driving this car about and had a quick mess about with it after driving. It's a really nice car to drive.
I've never driven it. I think the last time I drove it was like Gran Turismo 4, and that was ages ago.
Yeah, it's a good fun car to drive because it hasn't got huge amounts of power. It's not terribly scary. Anyway, that's 1 mile. I just need 1 mile an hour, and then we can complete this. But no, it does not want to do that extra 1 mile an hour. So, stupid Subaru.
Problems occurred.
I am not pleased. Not just problems. It's just not quick enough. God damn you. It was close at 409 horsepower, but not quite good enough. Which is a shame. Look at how bright the brakes are glowing. I think I might have cooked them a little bit. Anyway, we move on to the third benchmark since the other ones have been, well, terrible failures. Now, we know this car isn't going to hit 200 miles an hour on its own because this is the Acura TSX that we used in the C-Class speed runs. This is kind of the reason why I have this here is because it's rather interesting compared to the other cars that we've speedrun before. When we tried to reach 200 miles an hour in C-classes, The cars that we used mostly were big, powerful muscle cars because, well, they're big and powerful, but also because the PI was relatively low with them because they handle terribly down this straight. If any of you have seen our video, I'm sure fair if you will have. I'll put in the description a link to it if you haven't. The muscle cars are all over the place on the straight. It's really hard trying to keep them in a straight line. However, that means you can't, because the handling's so terrible, you can put a load of power in them and you still keep them in C-Class, which is good for speed, because you need a lot of power to to get to these sorts of speed. The Acura was really the odd one out of all the cars that we used, because this had less than 400 horsepower, and it was still keeping up with all the muscle cars.
Yeah, it was surprising, actually. I mean, this was, like Alex said, this was the exception to the rule. And I don't know why. I don't know why Forza ruled this car out as being able to reach a fairly high speed with... Well, because I mean, let's be honest, it's not exactly aerodynamic.
Yeah, it's not the most aerodynamical car in the world. I mean, sure, it's probably slightly more aerodynamical than the muscle cars. But anyway, when we did the speed run, we hit 200 miles an hour with it when it was slipstreaming behind a Transit and a Porsche, I think, and we managed to get it to work.
Lots of cars.
On its own, it's not going to do it. It does about 190. I don't think it hits 190 on this run, but I have got it to 190 with, I think it's 398 horsepower. So that's still fairly impressive.
It's impressive for a car of it, you know, for a C-Class car. That's bloody good.
Yeah, that's not bad considering it hasn't got a huge amount of power. So our 3 benchmarks are pretty useless when it comes to this. So the target was really, could we do it in under 400 horsepower? And these are the cars that we are going to be using. I am in an Alpha 33, while Daniel, you can guess what he's driving. Of course it's going to be a Lotus.
Of course it's going to be a Lotus-11. I mean, you know. Everyone should know me by now.
Yeah. So, seeing as we don't have power on our side, we can't just go with dumping a great big engine in to try and make it go as fast. We were thinking, well, we need the minimum amount of drag possible, which is why we have these 2 cars. They are very aerodynamical, they are very small, they should punch, they shouldn't have too much effort at punching a hole through the air, so they should be able to get to the highest top speed without a huge amount of horsepower. Now, the Alpha starts off with 200 and something, can't remember, whereas the Lotus has 79,
I think.
There we go. Not very much horsepower at all. So, anyway, we set off on a first run, and the Alpha is incredibly fast off the line. That's an impressive distance it's made there.
It is really quite something, because you look at the Lotus and you think, I mean, that gets away quickly, let's be honest. But the Alpha, I think that's due to the weight. I mean, yours weighs what? Yours must weigh over 1,000 pounds.
I think it's 1,500 for the Alpha with the race weight reduction, whereas the Lotus weighs just nothing.
Yeah, literally nothing. So
it's 1,000 pounds.
Some stupid amount of lightness, and it's just ridiculous. Jesus Christ! I was just seeing that. Bloody hell, that flew. Good grief.
The problem with both these cars, more of a problem with the Lotus, is because they are so light, they're actually very hard to drive because it is incredibly bumpy down here. And yeah, with cars this light,
a little bit, which I
shouldn't have done. Little bit of cheating going on there. It is very clear though that the Alpha, or the Lotus, is much faster than the Alpha down the straight there. However, you're not very good at making the corner, and you've smashed the Lotus up. Well done.
Yeah, it was spectacular though, let's be honest.
It was a spectacular crash, that one. There was fairly high speeds as well. So, you saw the Alpha, it did like 186, not particularly impressive. So we're going to cut to the Lotus now. This is from the same run, and have a look at it from the Lotus's point of view with the telemetry up. So with just 290 horsepower, you're already going faster than me. That's not good.
So I made a wise choice with this 11. I don't know. I presume you can see through the steering wheel telemetry bit. You can see how many movements I'm having to make, and it suffers the same problem as the muscle cars, but for a completely different reason. The muscle cars had way too much power. These are just so light. It's just 2 different reasons, but the same issue. Yeah, the problem with the muscle cars is that to keep them in the C-Class, we had to keep standard suspension, which made them incredibly bouncy, which is wallowy and horrible.
Which in effect gives us the same problem as the Lotus. The Lotus bounces all over the place because it's so light. A sort of a breeze would probably send it off course. It's very, very difficult to drive. So we send the Lotus back the other way. We saw it got to like 198 miles an hour. Although there was a little bit of cheating. There was a little bit of slipstreaming.
Yes, there was a little bit of slipstreaming involved. Not a lot. So 100 foot maybe. Yeah,
we sent it back the other way just to see what it would do on its own, and that's 197. That's still
it's impressive.
A little bit impressive for a car with 290 horsepower.
Yeah.
I
was feeling quite confident
Yeah, the Lotus, it seems as a fairly good choice for this. I mean, that's going quicker at a straight line than sort of a lot of sports cars.
A lot of sports cars.
I'm thinking
a lot of very expensive supercars.
Yeah, like NSXs, Porsches, some of the 911s.
Most Porsches, to be honest. I mean, there's only a few I can think of that will do 200 minus the race cars. So
yeah, and they're pushing sort of 400 plus horsepower, and it's being beaten. There we go. I think that was made sense English. Yes, stuff. There we go. The Lotus-11 is quick. Anyway, if we go to the Alpha, I was going to have another go. But it really wasn't looking too good.
It failed miserably.
For 300 horsepower. And still, 186 miles an hour
that's good.
300 horsepower. It's fairly respectable from the Alpha, but it's not going to go any quicker.
I think it must, in real life, if you did this, it must be pretty damn scary in cars that are 50, 40 years old.
Oh yeah, it'd be terrifying.
It must be terrifying.
I mean, these cars aren't the easiest things in the world to drive. They are. No. I mean, they are race cars, yes, but they are very old race cars, which makes them very difficult to drive. And as I said, or as we said, they're so light. They are incredibly hard to control. So we went back to the upgrade shop to kind of modify our cars a little bit more to try and get them to reach the magical 200 mile an hour mark. I had to stick some more power in the Alpha. It's just not going to go fast with the 300 horsepower. So I bumped the power up to 350. Admittedly, that is quite a little bit more than the Lotus. However, it is looking more promising as 180 miles an hour already. It's still a pretty tough challenge for this Alpha.
It's just, it doesn't seem as if it's the car. I don't know. I mean,
what
if you put
your Lotus sounds like it's farting.
Yeah, it's a farting Lotus.
What is going on with that engine?
I don't know. As the problem with Forza, the problem with Forza, I found that like when you upgrade certain cars, and all I can think of is the Golf GTI, the Mark II.
Yes,
it sounds horrible. It's just horrible. Forza needs to sort that out.
Well, I think it's probably a Willy. That's the other thing the Alpha does. Makes it difficult to drive.
That's a problem.
Forgot about that.
A wheeling Alpha.
Yeah, that's terrifying through there. I think the problem is that when you stick upgrades in the car, in the engine, and all that thing, Forza,
many valves bounce.
Well, the problem is you can't sort of decide what that engine actually sounds like because nobody's necessarily done that to the car in reality. Some of the upgrade parts don't even exist. So when you're trying to measure the sound, you have nothing to go on. So
it still sounds like a farting Lotus.
It does sound like it's farting. So yes. that's kind of amusing. Anyway, you'd still got 290 horsepower. However, you thought you could still manage to make the 200 miles an hour.
I did, yes. I asked Alex and I sort of clarified and just said, can we do absolutely anything? And Alex went, yes. So I went, okay. I looked at the tyre widths and I thought, and then just upgraded them. So they got some.
It's getting close.
It's getting
really
ridiculously close.
No! It is! That's the tiniest. It just got it.
It sealed 200, so I'm classed that as a win.
Just clicked over to 200 before the corner.
Yeah, I think I had I put some stupid. I think there were 335 tyre widths on the rear, which are 25 millimeters wider than Porsche 911 wheels. They're stupidly wide. Yeah. And it just gave the grip and the handling and the stability to get it to 200. Okay, it was a 200 for a very brief period of time, but 200 nonetheless. So I was impressed.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I mean, the Lotus, we know both these cars, or both them cars, are very aerodynamical. That's why we chose them. But even then, for 290 horsepower, that's pretty damn impressive to hit 200 miles an hour.
We've been successful.
We have been successful. We have been informative, and nothing fell over. Although you did crash a Lotus,
and there was a wheeling Alpha.
And there was a wheeling Alpha. That was very impressive. I have got a picture of it somewhere. I forgot to put it in the video for this recording session, but there will be a picture on the screen at some point of the Alpha doing a wheel. The replay cameras really don't do it justice. It's also absolutely terrifying going towards a corner with your front wheels in the air at 190 miles an hour.
It must be quite a sight in cockpit view. Yeah,
it was very scary. But yes, there we go. We have been successful, which is always good. So that is it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As ever, if you have challenges you would like to see us do, then please leave them in the comment section. We will have a look through, and some of them will probably be in a video at some point. However, until next time, goodbye.
Bye. Oh, see, it was less girly then.
Hey, well done. You're getting the